Welcome everyone to the SolarEdge TerraMax webinar. We're going to give it a couple of minutes and we'll start. All right, I think it's time that we can get started. Welcome everyone. We're thrilled to introduce our new groundbreaking SolarEdge optimized solution designed for large-scale ground mount projects. Next slide, please. Yes, I wanted to go through some housekeeping items before we get started. You can join the audio for this webinar either with your computer or with your phone. And also this webinar is being recorded and will be shared along with some resources via email within the next week. Attendee microphones have been muted, but please use the question feature in the pop-out panel on the right-hand side if you have queries throughout the webinar, and we will address them at the end to have a question and answer session. So just a little introduction of our speakers today. First, we have Eric Larson as the Senior Manager, North America Commercial Support. Eric manages a team of commercial support engineers and technical account managers providing after-sales support for our customers. I'm Frank McIntyre. I'm Senior Applications Engineer for SolarEdge here in North America. Also, we have with us today Drew Vermillion, President of Reboss, and Mark Sauls, VP of Sales for Epic. They've worked together to provide a third-party integrated solution for our TerraMax inverter, and that's a little bit about what we'll be discussing today. Next, talk a little bit about our agenda. So we're going to get a little into the details about the TerraMax, what it is, and some of the features and details and specifications, and also the optimizer H1300. We're going to talk a little bit more about those. Also the virtual central solution and how that can be implemented in these ground mount solutions that this is geared towards. After that, Epic will come on and give us a few more details about that and show us some of the design specifications and details about Epic. Eric then will get into some service offerings, and then at the end, we'll provide some resources, give you some more information, and then finally questions and answers. So let's move on and talk a little bit about the TerraMax. So the innovative 330 kilowatt inverter, coupled with the H1300 power optimizer, forms our next generation of powerful ground mount solutions for community solar, for agrivoltaics, for floating solar, and even small to medium-sized utility sites. This represents a significant step as we expand into this large-scale ground mount market. It's worth noting that our most substantial inverter prior to this was the 120 kilowatt inverter with Synergy technology. So this makes a step up in power class especially for ground mount and community solar applications. This inverter has many of the features that you're familiar with SolarEdge, that is more energy production, reduced balance of system costs, and also lower O&M costs. Let's move on and look at some of the specifications of the TerraMax. So the TerraMax, again, is a 330 kilowatt inverter, and that's rated at full power up to 45 degrees C. So that's higher full power rated inverter than you typically see in this class. Its max apparent power is 330 kVA, so it's a 330 kilowatt inverter, 330 kVA. And its output voltage is 690 volts AC, so it's above 600 volts, and it's in that 800 volt class of inverters. Again, it's a 1500 volt DC rated inverter. So that's what you would see in these larger ground mount projects, are 1500 volt DC systems. And that's what this inverter is. Its max AC to DC ratio is 200%. So you can oversize it with up to about 660 kilowatts on the 330 kilowatt inverter. And it's highly efficient. Typical of our solution with the inverter and the optimizers, the inverter itself is very high efficiency, and we have the maximum power point tracking in the power optimizers. And in this case, that's the H1300 power optimizer. So its rated power is 1300 watts. It can handle up to two 650 watt modules. Its absolute maximum input voltage is 125 volts DC. So you wire the modules in series first before you connect them to the optimizer. And it's the optimizers that together make up the string. And they put out the maximum short circuit current that you can connect to this optimizer for the module is 15 amps. Some of the design rules with the H1300. So you can have strings up to 80 modules in a string. Now that's significantly more than any other 1500 volt inverter on the market. Depending on the power class, you can go up to 80 modules in a string. And then minimum is 44. So here you see the design rules. Minimum string length, depending on the power class, is either 44, 48, or 54. And then the maximum is 80, depending on the amount of power you have connected. And so the nominal amount of power that you would connect is about 25 kilowatts, 25,000 watts, but you're allowed to oversize it up to 33 kilowatts. So that's significantly more than you can get on a string with a normal 1500 volt string inverter that you see in the market today. Let's move on to the next one, and we'll look at some of the ways that you can mount the optimizer. So now when your inverters are in portrait mode, or portrait orientation, you can wire the optimizers from one optimizer to the next optimizer. You can also do that in the landscape orientation, but what's unique here as well, you can also do leapfrogging. So leapfrogging is important because that allows you to have both ends of the string come out at the same side of the row of modules. And this reduces your balance of system costs. So what you do is you jump from one optimizer, you jump one and you connect to the one after it. And then you come back down the row and connect the ones that haven't been connected. And so you have the positive and negative leads coming out at the same side of the row of modules. And this optimizer also has the safe DC feature. So when in a normal string inverter, you can't shut down the array. The only thing you can do is cover it over. That's the way you can shut down a string of modules normally. But when you add the optimizers, you have control now of those modules. And it's not the modules that are wired in series, but rather it's the optimizers. And those optimizers can be controlled. And they control and operate at a fixed input voltage. So when it's normally operating, that's a 1500 volt DC circuit. But in the safe DC mode, which is the next screen there, yeah. So you'll see when the system is off that there's only 1 volt coming out of each optimizer. So in this case, if you have 30 optimizers in a string with 2 modules connected to each of those, that's 60 modules altogether. Each optimizer will only be putting out 1 volt. And so if you put a multimeter on that string, you'd only see 30 volts DC. And that happens within 5 minutes. So you shut down the inverter, or if there's some kind of an arc or a short circuit, or you lose grid power, or for some reason the inverter shuts down, then this safe DC mode turns on and all of the optimizers go down to 1 volt DC. So that's inherent in all of our SolarEdge inverters, is that safe DC, very safe architecture. Commissioning from the sun is something that is a feature that's built into this inverter. And this is useful when you don't have AC power present at the site. So what you do is you download and install the setup application on your phone, and you complete all of the wiring for the inverter, especially on the DC side. You complete all the module, all the optimizer wiring, all the string wiring, the combiner box wiring, all of that. And then you turn on the DC circuit, and then you just follow the normal steps that you would. And you have to perform all of those steps during a sunny day, of course. So what that does is provides enough power to power up the communications card, and then you can go through the steps in setup to commission the inverter without having to have AC power present on the site. And many times on these ground mount sites, that's how it is. You don't have AC power present when you're already done with your installing of the inverters. So commissioning from the sun. On our our other commercial inverters, we have pre-commissioning, and it's very popular. And this too is very popular for that reason. Now we're going to talk for a moment about virtual central solutions. These are factory integrated solutions where you have the inverters, the AC combiner boxes, and all the auxiliary components like DAS, weather stations, and meters, and all those other things, all factory integrated and delivered to the site so that there's no work needs to be done on the site. So let's take a look at a few of those options that you can use in this case. So the virtual central inverter that we are advocating is the 1 megawatt and the 2.5 megawatts. So what you're looking at here is the 1 megawatt, and this is where you have 3 inverters and a box with 3 circuit breakers in it, also mounted on this rack. You see it has an option of a sunshade, and then on the power portion of it where the transformer is, you have some auxiliary equipment as well. So this is a rack mounted breaker panel option. It's all factory integrated with inverters and breaker panels. Different mounting options as well. Here you see the 2.5 megawatt option. This is the switchboard option. So it has a junction box on the end of the rack, and then you have a switchboard on the power portion of the system, and that's where the overcurrent protection for the inverters is in that switchboard. All of it factory integrated, junction boxes, the switchboard, transformer, all of it factory integrated and pre-wired, and has many different mounting options. Again, you can mount it on piles or ground screws, or even on a concrete pad. It has feet that you can bolt it down. And that's what Epic does. So we've worked with Epic to put together these 2 solutions for the TerraMax inverter. So they're going to take it over from here, and they're going to talk to us a little bit more about who they are and what they do and how this is such a good fit with SolarEdge.
Great, Frank. Thank you. Thank you much. Yeah, so Mark Sauls here with Epic Solutions, and spent a few minutes talking about our company and how we've kind of progressed over the last 7 years, providing AC collection equipment for the solar industry. So first off, just to let you know, we have a full range of equipment at 480, 600, and at 800 volt as well. And we'll cover that a little bit more detail later. But we're headquartered in Clayton, North Carolina. We are domestic content compliant, and we have 3 manufacturing sites all in North Carolina as well, in Eastern North Carolina. So overall, about 96,000 square feet of manufacturing space. We have, over the last 7 years, become a leading supplier of electrical balance of system equipment for string inverter systems. And we did that. If you look on the right, one of our industry magazine ads is solar specific UL91 switchboards. From the beginning, we worked, which was in 2018, we worked very closely with UL to develop a UL891 switchboard that met the criteria for 891, but also met the criteria for solar. And so we really developed that from the ground up for solar, and we think for that reason the product is really kind of taken off, just because the specific needs of solar we really planned to meet from the beginning. So to date, we power a little over 1.5 gigawatts of solar with these the switchboards that you see on the right there, and that you'll see a little bit more as we move forward. Next slide. So a lot of time we spend really educating customers, because when it comes to over 600 volt equipment, people, it's not as easily accessible as the typical 480 volt equipment is. But however, early on, we jumped out with UL after we made our basic 480 and 600 volt switchboards. We also moved forward in July 2019, and we've got our first UL891 switchboard that's rated up to 800 volt approved and short circuit tested. At the time, the equipment that was available was actually only feeder breakers, so it was a main lug only switchboard. But since that time, we've been supplying main lug only switchboards, and over 350 megawatts of equipment now are running successfully. But in February of last year, we had a breakthrough. We worked with our air circuit breaker supplier, and they actually have a 1,000 volt UL listed main breaker. So we actually introduced our main breaker switchboard, which you see on the right there again, and it's available. It's been shipping now for a couple months. We finished up with UL short circuit testing late last year and very early this year with that unit. So it's available, and just like our other 480 and 600 volt switchboards, we actually can ship these 24 weeks after order received. And again, domestically manufactured in one of our 3 plants in North Carolina. Next slide. So we really, again, to kind of build emphasis and kind of educate on what's available for 800 volt or 660, 690 to 800 volt. We actually have a product family, and I just wanted to go through this quickly because I think it's important to know that products are available out there. So the top left is our standard switchboard, like you just saw. So we can have that in main lug only or main breaker, and it's up to from 800 amps to 4,000 amps, so again, full UL891. We also released another product this January, and that is the top middle, and that is we call it our modular switchboard, developed really for 800 volt when you need a recombiner function. So with this switchboard, you actually can have a main breaker up to 5,000 amps, and you can have feeder breakers that are 800, 1,000, 1,200 up to 2,500 amps as well. So you may have inverters in the field going to a combiner and then coming back into a recombiner. We can do that as well with this chassis. Then over on the right-hand side, top right, we actually offer a fused disconnect that's also rated at 800 volts. And then down below, bottom left, we have a disconnect switch. So if you're not doing virtual central, if you have your inverter in the field, you can actually have a local disconnect that's rated at 800 volt as well, both a non-fused and a circuit breaker style disconnect. And then finally, the middle bottom and the right bottom are just various types of multi-power centers for either single phase or three-phase loads, taking your 690 volt in and producing 12240 on the single phase, or maybe tracker power and 12240, both if as required on the three-phase units. Next slide. Just a little deeper dive on specific products. So for the 1 megawatt solution that Frank was showing earlier, so we actually have a 4-breaker AC combiner as shown over on the right. So that unit is actually designed and UL listed for 660 to 800 volt, up to 1,000 amps, and has up to 4 multi-case circuit breakers installed. Those breakers, as you see down below a little bit farther, can either be electronic trip or they can be thermal mag. And electronic trips are limited to 35K AIC at 800 volt. The thermal mags actually can go up to 50K AIC at 800 volt as well. So again, as you see, it's a full dead front design, main lug only output, and these rack mount projects or rack mount equipment we actually can ship in 16-week lead time. Next slide. And then a little bit of a deeper dive on this larger switchboard that we just mentioned earlier that we now have available with a main breaker, or can be main lug only as well. If you don't want a main breaker, we make it in both options. So again, 660, 800 volt, actually now it's 800 to 4,000 amps, and we can hold up to 20 feeders in that unit. And again, with ETU, it's 35K AIC at 800. With TM, it's 50K AIC at 800. So if you have a 690 VAC transformer, then you can have up to like a 3,500 kVA power block size if required. We also offer optional SCL protective relaying if additional ground fault or frequency or other requirements are for protective relaying are needed. And of course, we can offer metering with Modbus TCP. And again, as we mentioned, the 24-week lead time. Next slide. And in addition to what Frank was showing earlier with the virtual centrals, showing the 1 megawatt version with the rack, with the inverters, and also the 2.5 megawatt with the inverter rack as well, we also can offer you a switchboard and a transformer all mounted on a skid along with your data acquisition equipment and pad power or tracker power. And these are done again in one of our plants in North Carolina with domestic steel, and of course is we consider this a manufactured product, so really we'll raise up your domestic content. And we also we work with a PE firm. These are every job basically. We do a finite elemental analysis, and we provide the reaction loads that you can give to your civil engineering group to determine if you're going to mount on piles or a concrete pad or a crushed stone. And we have these designed so that they will hold up for when it's no loads in the worst case continental U.S. Next slide. So that is a quick introduction to our products for 660, 800 volt, and also too, but after the sale, that's obviously very important. So we have a technical services team that can obviously go on site to handle any field modifications. We offer maintenance contracts, semi and yearly maintenance contracts. We can program protective relays, provide commissioning assistance. And if we get the information from the EOR for your project, we can even do factory parameterization of the main breakers and the feeder breakers as well. So we've got a myriad of options for technical services we can offer to support the SolarEdge customer base. And I will turn it over now to Drew Vermillion with Reboss.
All right, thanks, Mark. As Mark alluded to, Mark started Reboss and designed these switchboards from the ground up for solar, and they have just been extremely well accepted in the solar environment and adopted by the leading developers and EPCs in the country. And some of the advantages also we offer, the main breaker option with our switchboards is 24-week lead time. If you do the main lug only AC combiner, you're looking at a 13 weeks lead time. All the switchboards comply with Made in America and the IRS domestic content requirements. I know that's kind of a pain point for a lot of people. So that's another reason to work with us and the SolarEdge team with this new product launch. As Mark alluded to, and I'll kind of reiterate, having this thermally engineered to eliminate nuisance tripping is extremely important. We've oversized the bus. We use 100% electronic trip circuit breakers, and the enclosure is painted white. Just by simply painting the enclosure white, you're lowering the temperature inside the enclosure on a hot day by up to 30%, 30 degrees. So I think our customers have just been extremely pleased with the quality and the performance and the lead time when working with us. Then another advantage that we have is, unparalleled access to circuit breakers. We're a very fast-growing company, and the circuit breakers love us, and so they want to make us happy and our customers happy. And so we actually meet with them weekly to give them vision into our needs for the upcoming months, so we can keep our lead times where they are. As Mark showed some slides there, we are extremely competent in building fully integrated transformer switchboard racks, and also the fully integrated string inverter racks that Frank showed earlier. This is, it takes a special team to do this kind of work, and we're extremely competent at it. We're doing it for the biggest names in the industry, and that's going to be another advantage to working with us. And lastly, one of the things that I think TerraMax is offering the country is we know the costs of integration, and the fact that the SC330 is going to be the most powerful string in the market means working with SolarEdge is going to be very cost competitive versus the competition. So thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to the Q&A session.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you guys so much for that. Really looking forward to partnering with such a good group like you guys. So my name's Eric Larson. I'm here with SolarEdge to talk a little bit more about our TerraMax service and support offering. If you go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about support here in North America as a whole. We have a dedicated support team totaling just under 300 people across a few different disciplines. Two main groups in particular, the technical support team based here in Northern California and our field group. The technical support team is a highly trained group of agents handling chat, email, and portal cases, as well as live calls. Of course, we're focused on constantly improving our agents' knowledge while working to reduce wait times and handle times. In region here in North America, we do have all levels of support. From your initial tier 1 agents through subject matter experts, tier 2 and tier 3 technical resources. This helps ensure quick responses to some of the even most challenging issues that we experience. And very rarely do we need to do issues arise that we really need to go to headquarters or go out of country to resolve. As I mentioned separately, we do have our field operations team, which is the group that I'm a part of. We are spread strategically around the country, based in 12 different states. We're organized by market specializations. We have batteries, residential, as well as community, commercial and industrial focuses, as well as some folks looking into the utility market. Of course, we're cross-trained to ensure that we have good coverage nationally and to ensure quick responses. Our group is staffed by professionals, including electrical engineers, civil engineers, industry experts, as well as journeymen and master electricians. When in 2015, when I started at SolarEdge, there were only a few of us really focused on commercial. As I'll show on the next slide, our commercial fleet really started to take shape in 2019. And in 2020, we started a fully focused and dedicated C&I support team. Our goal is to ensure continuity of support throughout the project lifecycle, from concept through execution and onto long-term operations and maintenance of the deployed SolarEdge assets. My group is broken up into 3 different teams to help facilitate this end-to-end support. Technical account managers are assigned to some of our top accounts to help navigate technical challenges and ensure this holistic account support model is effective and helpful. We also have project managers who aren't really your typical project managers. The project managers on my team are really focused on training installers on site with tips and tricks and best practices for the projects they're assigned to, as well as working as a technical resource throughout those projects. And then lastly, our remote services group. They provide my team really high level support, remote support for issues that we might come up with where we need somebody remote to support, as well as doing proactive fleet support for some of our targeted accounts and assets. Last year alone, we helped our partners avoid hundreds of thousands of dollars in unnecessary truck rolls by providing them a prescriptive path forward in troubleshooting when rolling trucks on site. Here's a little snapshot of the fleet and the growth that I described. Currently we have just under 3 gigawatts of 3-phase inverters deployed across the country. These are deployed in 22,000 sites and across 3,000 separate installers. That remote services team that I was just discussing is actually supporting and proactively monitoring about 1 gigawatt of that total fleet. And really excited about continuing to grow that group. So the reason that we're really all here today is to talk about the TerraMax and the support that we're offering. As Frank and the Epic team described, we have some great solutions out there. And what I want to do now is really talk about how we're going to provide some additional structure to our service and support offering that some of you guys are already really well aware of. We have a base offering provided to all installers today for our C&I offering. And this will still be in place, including an Advantage, which I'll discuss a little bit more in an upcoming slide. New this year for TerraMax is part of our enhanced offering. This enhanced offering will be for all installs initiated in 2024. It has the added benefit of an assigned technical resource, as well as that proactive fleet management that I just mentioned, and that'll be for the first year after PTO. Separately, we are offering enhanced VIP or platinum services as an optional paid service, and this will be offered ad hoc on a case-by-case basis, and I'll cover that a little bit here in a minute. So we do have, as I described earlier, our base offering, which a lot of you are already familiar with, which includes our dedicated support line, staffed by subject matter experts, ensuring we're minimizing unnecessary troubleshooting whenever possible. Advantage, which is a great program, which I'll discuss more in a moment, and our online learning academy, which is already full of great content, especially focused on CC&I. And we're actively adding TerraMax specific content to ensure that you can get your projects off the ground with confidence. This online academy is also a great tool for onboarding new hires, as well as you guys grow your teams out there. Next slide, thank you. A little bit more about Advantage. Really, the goal in the Advantage program is to ensure that we're helping to protect the assets against losses around downed optimizers and ensure that we can limit truck rolls. The program is facilitated on a biannual basis, where we roll up lost production for any down optimizers during that 6-month period and provide the value of the lost production. What this really does is it allows you to focus on your biannual maintenance and not have to roll trucks on a regular basis and avoid any concerns of potential lost production due to optimizer outages. Some of the enhanced services that I mentioned before that we're going to be offering to folks who initiate projects in 2024 is the assigned technical resource. This is really someone who's focused on ensuring that from pre-construction through project completion, any questions regarding the product, SolarEdge as a whole, or any challenges that come up are responded to quickly and efficiently to avoid any project delays. In addition, we will be offering proactive support of those specific TerraMax sites that qualify to really maximize uptime and minimize the cost of service through daily reviews of high-level alerts, resolving issues remotely wherever possible, and then providing either a prescriptive path forward for site-related issues or RMAs for clear product-related challenges. Something that is new to the TerraMax offering this year, or TerraMax offering as a whole, I guess, is our new optional paid services, where we are going to offer a handful of different types of services. Ad hoc, you can choose for all of the services or just one or a few of them as you see fit. For the installation support, looking at going on site multiple times, ensuring that we're following SolarEdge's best practices, establishing that golden row standard for wire management, optimizer mounting, and mapping techniques, as well as providing a punch list for any non-conformance issues that we identify. For the commissioning support, we're going to be sending out SolarEdge staff or an authorized service provider to be on site during the commissioning process to ensure smooth startup of SolarEdge equipment and help troubleshoot any challenges that may occur during that process. Mapping support is unique, obviously, for those of you who are familiar with it. We do have a digital twin of the physical array in our SolarEdge portal. So mapping optimizers is incredibly important. We will offer that mapping services as well. If you're interested, the only caveat to that is the QR codes do have to be available and easily accessible. We will also offer on-site training where we can cover a myriad of different topics, including optimizer mounting and best practices, mapping, inverter installation, pre-commissioning support, commissioning support, and any installation troubleshooting, best practices and tips and tricks. This is a great way to ensure that not only for this project, but for future projects, you and your team are well educated on the SolarEdge product and what we found to really be the best practices over our years' experience. We will be offering board level certification as well, which we're really excited about for Orion, or excuse me, for the TerraMax inverter. This is something that's really important to us. We know that given the footprint and weight of this product, it's really important to keep it on the rack whenever possible. So if you choose, we can offer board level certification where we train individual staff members to go through consumable and board level troubleshooting and replacement process. We do have a ton of great resources already available on our website today, to include data sheets, full installation manual, and a really great quick installation guide, which I love. And as Frank indicated at the beginning of this webinar, We do have, this is a series of webinars that we're doing, each unique and special to themselves. And coming up in April, we have a mastering the SolarEdge TerraMax inverter, which is a technical deep dive, really focused on the installation of the product and getting into some of the internal workings of the TerraMax inverter. And really looking forward to that. We'd like to open up the forum for some questions, and if all the presenters could go ahead and come back on camera and unmute themselves, that'd be great.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you all of you for your help here. So we have some questions that we're going to entertain. Again, you can pop out that panel on the right-hand side. The questions option is in there, and you can type in your questions. We've already gotten a few, so we can consider those. So one of the questions that we got is, do you offer these solutions in Canada? Is it CSA or UL Canada listed? So yes, we do offer the TerraMax inverter for sale in Canada, as well as all of our other commercial three-phase inverters. And how about you guys, Epic? Have you provided any products in Canada, any of your solutions?
Yes, Frank. So when we actually get our units UL certified, they're certified for both the United States and Canada as well.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so how about, let's see, let me look at some of these other questions that we're getting here. Here's one. What are the advantages of leapfrogging, and is it common practice? So yes, skip stringing or leapfrogging is a common practice when you have the right type of module orientation that it works with, which typically is a portrait orientation, and where the stringing goes across the modules, where you can skip one optimizer and then you can get the next one. And what that advantage of that is that you can have the positive and negative leads of the string all on one end of the row, instead of having positive at one end, negative on the other, and you have a really long either positive or negative string home run that has to go back to a combiner box. Here you can have both the positive and negative coming out in the same location, and the string home runs are the same distance to a nearby combiner box. Let's see, do we have any more good questions here? Do we sell and support TerraMax in Panama, Central America? Well, I believe at the moment we do not, but I'm not exactly sure. It's just now starting to, hit the market in North America and in Europe. So at the moment, no. Will this presentation be made available post-meeting? Yes, it will. We'll be sending it out via email and PDF form within a week of the webinar. What else do we have here? Are there any other virtual central sizes available? So yes, we've worked with Epic to get to design a 1 megawatt and a 2.5 megawatt, but Mark, Drew, what different sizes, what other sizes have you done?
Sure. So really, we can do anything up to 3.5 MVA, anything in between there, and the smallest you want. The determining factor is the fault current rating of the circuit breakers and the switchboards, and our top fault current rating is 50 KAIC at 690. So that would equal about 3.5 MVA transformer size.
And then what we do, Frank and Eric, is we adjust the rack design for, if it's a 1.5 megawatt rack, it's going to be a different size rack than obviously the 1 or 2.5 megawatt chassis. So we have that flexibility as well.
Very good. Let's see, what else do we have here for questions? For Eric, can you please comment on equipment availability for greater than 600 volt? I'm sorry, not for Eric, for Epic. Availability of equipment for greater than 600 volt AC solutions. Are there new products becoming available at this voltage level? So I'm assuming that's up to 800 or even 1,000 volts, right? AC.
Right. So yeah, so our equipment is rated up to 800 volt and is readily available now. We actually are the standard switchboards we talked about are 24 weeks. The main leg only switchboard is actually 16 weeks, and the modular, the one I mentioned, where you can actually have use it as a recombiner, and you have 800 volt rated circuit breakers that go as high as 2,500 amps as feeders. Most typically, a recombiner may have like 800 or 1,000 amp breakers that you would need. That's available in 30 weeks.
Yeah, so bottom line, there's no difference for us whether it's 480, 600, or 800 volt. We're all 24 weeks.
Right, and then the modular 30, correct, for all voltages.
Yep.
That's right.
All right, good. There is a question here for you, Eric. Can you please provide further details on the fleet performance monitoring?
Yeah, sure. So for the fleet performance monitoring, we're really digging in, looking at the site, any high level alerts daily, and trying to remotely troubleshoot those issues, identify if there's potentially an internal fix that we can deploy. If not, if we do decide or believe that it's something site related, we can actually go through and provide a prescriptive path forward, meaning we'll provide troubleshooting steps, understand and try and really set the O&M and service provider up for success as much as possible. We also provide a monthly and quarterly report on our activities and to ensure that we're maximizing the value of that service.
Very good. For you guys at Epic, why was UL 891 chosen and not UL 1741?
Sure. So yes, for AC equipment, AC distribution equipment, we chose UL 891 because of its higher short circuit requirements, dead front actually versus 1741 doesn't really require a dead front, and actually input from UL. So UL told us early on that if it's tied to a transformer, utility transformer or transformer tied to medium voltage, then UL 891 was the correct certification. But 891 at the time didn't have any, the certification didn't cover multiple voltage, multiple sources coming into it. So we worked with UL directly to get a certification changed, or the standard changed actually to include multiple sources, and then our switchboard is labeled to show multiple sources coming in.
Very good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else do we have here? You spoke about 200% oversizing. Does that mean you'll be able to store energy? Well, yes, the idea is that we will be able to do that, although a storage product from SolarEdge is not available yet, but it is, the idea with the design is that it's future ready for storage. So there is the ability to connect storage, and on the AC coupling in particular, you can use this inverter for that. But that 200% oversizing is PV only. Doesn't have to have storage connected. How does the virtual central solution lower the cost overall when using SolarEdge inverters? I think maybe Drew, you spoke to that a little bit, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. So if you just think about a typical trying to build inverter racks and fully integrate them with 2.5 megawatts of string inverters, and if you're at 125, you have a lot more strings you have to integrate, a lot more cabling, a lot more conduit. Whereas with TerraMax, obviously there's so much power in each string. It means there's less strings to integrate. It means the chassis for the rack's smaller, less labor hours to integrate, and therefore it's a competitive advantage for. And we always tell clients that too, is when you do fully integrated work, it always pays to bring as much power to the party as possible. And
Okay.
yeah, so we're excited about y'all's product.
I understand. So the larger the inverter, the less of them you need and the less overall equipment that you need.
Yes, less time. Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Eric, is there a spare parts list available for the TerraMax inverter?
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Yeah, there sure is. There's actually 2 levels of spare parts. We have the spare parts list that's open to anybody. And then we do have some additional parts that we offer to folks who choose to get board certified. And we've gone through and we've developed some recommended levels for those depending on project size. So if somebody is considering us for their project, we can definitely help identify what a reasonable amount of spares would be, help talking to them about the benefits of becoming board certified and having those additional spare part options, as well as a little bit around storage and best practices in maintaining that stock.
Okay. All right. Well, you spoke about that as well. What portfolio level in terms of how big of a system size or portfolio are we talking about here where you have to do that?
Yeah, it's really up to the asset owner. All of these would be offered aside from maybe some SPDs as RMAs. So if you needed to use any of the spare stock, we would ultimately end up guiding you through the reason for needing it, how to use it, and then deploying it as part of your spares. And then we would replace that unit, say that communication board as an example. We would replace that for you and replenish your spare stock. So it really just depends on how aggressive your performance guarantees are or other SLAs that you may have that's related to the site. And we can really tailor the spare parts package to the size of the project.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. All right. Let me check the list a little more here, see what we got. A couple of questions about if we need assistance with design. Yes, you can contact us through the resources, through our support center, field applications engineer as well, like me. You can get all that, get that pre-sale support and help in design and that kind of thing. So yes, that's all available to you. All right, very good. I think that just about takes care of all of these questions. Yeah, very good. Thank you, everyone, for all of those. That's some good commentary, some good things to think about with this new inverter, the TerraMax. Thank you to Eric and Mark and Drew for all of the information that you provided as well. And if there's nothing else that you guys want to say, I think we'll, at this time, end our webinar, and that'll be the end of our webinar today. So thanks, everyone, for attending, and thank you guys for presenting.